What we have here is alkaline corrosion. You can see how the copper underneath the solder mask, solder mask if you're in America, has been darkened. And of course this was from a leaky alkaline battery or two, and it ran down the legs of the battery holder and then got under the solder mask and then continued waging war as it went under it. I'm going to need to remove all the components in the, well, probably most all of the components on the center of the image now to clean that up. And why is this green jumper wire here? Don't know. That may be a modification for WPC MPUs, or maybe the trace is just severed by the corrosion. As I get into it, I'll be able to figure it out. Original reason for sending the board was to repair the traces around the 6264 NVRAM, where there was an attempt to install some NVRAM. So that's pretty straightforward. I don't like doing that. I don't like having to do that. It's not fun. But alkaline corrosion isn't much fun either. Back on the bench with this Scared Stiff MPU that had the alkaline corrosion. Actually, this is the rare version of Scares Stiff, little known sequel to the original Scared Stiff. I have repaired the socket where the NVRAM install attempt occurred. I have abated all this alkaline corrosion and rebuilt at least one trace in there. I can't see it through the camera right now. Oh yeah, it's right there. And then D1 and D2 were replaced. I have conformal coated this entire area so it will be impervious to alkaline corrosion. Of course, there'll be no more alkaline corrosion since there are no more batteries on this board. I've replaced the socket under the 6809 and these two filter capacitors. This capacitor and these two diodes, it was really unnecessary to replace since they are in the battery circuit, but in case somebody wants to go back to having a battery on this board, we are now good to go. So let's test it. I have already set the date and time. Okay, so the only thing we really need to test here is the switch matrix. Let's see, it's not going to do me any good to set some of these adjustments because the CPU came to me without a game ROM in it. Let me see if I can get that last switch. There it is. Scared Stiff doesn't use column 8 of the switch matrix. And here are the coin door switches. Looking good. Let's see what else we can test. And let's do some solenoids. One of the cool things about the game design, let me get this going, between WPC 89 and WPC 95 is sometimes you can just make these things up. In fact, I guess most times. This is a WPC 89 power driver board versus WPC 9 CPU board. It's providing power. The drive circuits are all logically the same, if not physically the same, so everything works as you would expect it to. I even have a WPC 89 DMD controller, of course, connected, and that's working fine. Now, to complete this picture, you could put a DCS soundboard there, and a DCS soundboard combined with a DMD controller is the functional equivalent of the AV board. Let's get to general illumination, and we're just making sure that the signals are getting off of the CPU board and onto the driver board. Now, you saw something unusual there, that brightening of all 5, and the green and blue lamps don't have their own bright circuit in WPC 95, so that was entirely normal. Let's get to lamps and flashers. There's all your flashers and lamps. So this board is good to go. I guess everybody look for corrosion on your MPU boards, because even this board here is probably a $300 board nowadays. I'm not sure. And if you do decide to take on NVRAM installation, just take your time. You'll get it. Practice makes perfect, I'll say. Thank you so much for sending the board. Much appreciated.